All right, good morning, everybody. We're going to listen to a little bit of a clip from a lady that I watch, her crime channel. Richard Allen did say down the hill, and she took that as he was being interrogated, he was talking. She took that little part and compared it with the voice that we all been hearing for 8 years, right? And if you ask my opinion, now that we do have more voice analyzing on Richard Allen, more of his voice, it is starting to sound like it is him. All right, let's check out this. I think it's Miss Chasing. Hold on, let me see what her channel is. Michelle After Dark. That's her name, Miss Michelle After Dark. Let's listen to her video. Now, I've been watching this lady for a while. She's a pretty good creator, and she talks a lot about the case. Let's share this and see.
And arrested him on the 26th of October 2022. I will be live later to have a full and frank discussion about these interrogations. The destruction of an innocent man. Look out for that live stream. But in this video, during the interview with Liggett and Mullen, inadvertently, Richard Allen says, down the hill. So here's the perfect voice comparison. So what you're going to see in this video is Richard Allen saying down the hill a bunch of times, and then BG from the unedited version of the 43-second video, not the manipulated version that we've been listening to for years. You're going to hear it down the hill from the unedited 43-second video from Libby's phone. The only thing I've done is increase the volume. Okay, so I'm going to play Richard Allen and BG a whole bunch of times. My prediction is that if you already believe Rick Allen's guilty, you'll think that Rick Allen's voice is BG. If you think he's innocent, then you're going to say, no, it isn't. And I'm not going to book the trend. I believe that they have destroyed an innocent man. That's my firm belief. And I don't think that BG sounds at all like Rick Allen. But we'll discuss it more in the live stream later. Look out for that. Okay, I'm going to play each a bunch of times. Let me know in the comments what you think.
If you go down, not the High Bridge way, but that one where I sit on the bench. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. If you go down the hill, there used to be a little shed, a little shack down there.
All right, I got my headphones on, pumped up real loud, listening to it, and I'll be danged if the more and the more voice that comes out on him. Yeah, it's. I'm gonna say yes, it does sound like him, but I'm also gonna say in the same breath, so do three other or four other people that we were looking at sound like him. So I don't know. This is wow, it's a tough one. I would say yeah, it's pretty close, if not a match. And there wasn't enough. It's not that there wasn't enough to compare. There just wasn't nothing to compare. Uh, They were trying to compare the ski lift voice that when his wife was talking, but you couldn't hear, and his voice was muffled or something, or maybe it was the wind or whatever, but there wasn't enough there to do it. Now everyone's saying, well, the professional said there's not enough there with just what was in the video, what the guy said. Well, that's not true, right? What I meant was there wasn't enough video out in public of Richard Allen voice to compare with the video and audio from the girls. So everyone's saying, well, it ain't him, it don't sound like him. To me, the more he talks, the more we get a voice of him. Yes, it does sound like him. But let me explain this. So do 3 other people that were suspects. So and here's the thing. Like I tried to tell everybody, your guess is as good as ours, because the whole thing might have been created, computer generated, or AGI, or just edited and voices put in there. One of the worst cases ever. This might go down as the most diabolical, corrupted, demonic case. Well, now, my other question is what if Richard Allen is not Bridge Guy, but he is Voice Guy? Well, now you got a whole nother can of worms you got to open up, but we already know that there's many involved. And I wouldn't doubt if we'll be looking at something similar to what just happened in Florida, where it was these sickos, pedo thing or whatever. They just made a giant bust, over 1.5 million gigabytes of child porn and photos and all kinds of stuff was being distributed throughout America and outside America. So, yeah, like I was telling my viewers, FBI from Delphi or Indiana should get out there and start going through all that footage to see if there's any snuff films or anything having to do with Indiana with the Delphi case. But as far as I'm concerned, yeah, it's pretty dang close a match with Richard's voice. And if you listen to him on the phone behind prison, it even sounds even more like him. And that's because we're hearing his voice through the girl's microphone on the phone, on a phone mic. And then you hear him talking in prison on the phone. And it's even more of a match because the microphone, the diaphragms are more similar. The microphones are more similar, right? The way what they were designed for. So my opinion, yeah. But that don't mean it's over. Just because they got Richard, they got Keegan Kline, they got Kurtz, and they got Chadwell, and I think 3 or 4 other guys are already locked up for this. So I would continue. I would tell the Indiana, continue the hunt. We know there was many. We know there was many. So, a lot of these people did say there wasn't enough there to compare anything. And there wasn't. Right? There just wasn't enough voice recording of Richard Allen in public to compare with the video and audio we've been seeing. I don't know who is telling these people. There's just not enough there to compare. All you need is one vowel. That's all you need. I don't know who's been liars probably, or people that just. But all you need is a vowel, And if that vowel matches, if you have the guy say the same word, and all it has to be is one word, if that vowel matches, if that voice ID that is down in decibels on tape, if it matches, that's your guy. The other problem is if you got someone that sounds like him, right? So on this channel, we had 4 people that sounded like Richard, or a bridge guy, I mean, who they also sounded like Richard. They looked like Richard, similar, a couple of them. Yeah, pretty crazy. So let's listen to that one more time and see if you guys can hear the comparison. I can hear it. And I'm one that thought Richard Allen, I'm on this channel, I've been saying that BG might not have anything to do with this. He might not have anything to do with it. He might have just kept walking down the road. I'm one of them that said I wasn't 100% sold on it was Richard Allen. But now that I'm hearing this recording, he might not be bridge guy. He might be voice guy, though. We don't know. Let's listen to this one more time.
Look out for that live stream. But in this video, during the interview with Liggett and Mullen,
It sure was.
So
Good.
what you're going to see
I
in this
noticed that
video
too, little lady.
is Richard Allen saying down the hill a bunch of times, and then BG from the unedited version of the 43-second video, not the manipulated version that we've been listening to for years. You're going to hear it down the hill from the unedited 43-second video from Libby's phone. The only thing I've done is increase the volume. Okay, so I'm going to play Richard Allen and BG a whole bunch of times. My prediction is that if you already believe Rick Allen's guilty, you'll think that Rick Allen's voice is BG. If you think he's innocent, then you're going to say, no, it isn't. And I'm not going to book the trend. I believe that they have destroyed an innocent man. That's my firm belief. And I don't think that BG sounds at all like Rick Allen. But we'll discuss it more in the live stream later. Look out for that. Okay, I'm going to play each a bunch of times. Let me know in the comments what you think.
If you go down, not the high bridge way, but that one where I sit on the bench. Yeah, that I was talking about. If you go down the hill, there used to be a little shed, a little shack down there. Down the hill. Down the hill. Down the hill. Down the hill. Down the hill.
I'm sorry, but that is a match.
Down the hill. Down the hill.
I'm sorry. I'm going to give you my honest opinion, right? And that's pretty dang close match to me listening to it with my headphones on. All right, so they might have another one to throw into the pot, right? So the hunt goes on for more. It don't stop with Richard Allen. Can I put that on? I wonder if I can put that on repeat and just keep going.
Liggett and Mullen. Inadvertently, Richard Allen says down the hill. So here's the perfect voice comparison. So what you're going to see in this video is Richard Allen saying down the hill a bunch of times, and then BG from the unedited version of the 43-second video, not the manipulated version that we've been listening to for years. You're going to hear it down the hill from the unedited 43-second video from Libby's phone. The only thing I've done is increase the volume. Okay, so I'm going to play Richard Allen and BG a whole bunch of times. My prediction is that if you already believe Rick Allen's guilty, you'll think that Rick Allen's voice is BG. If you think he's innocent, then you're going to say, no, it isn't. And I'm not going to book the trend. I believe that they have destroyed an innocent man. That's my firm belief. And I don't think that BG sounds at all like Rick Allen. But we'll discuss it more in the live stream later. Look out for that. Okay, I'm going to play each a bunch of times. Let me know in the comments what you think.
If you go down, not the High Bridge way, but that one where I sit on the bench, yeah, that I was talking about. If you go down the hill, there used to be a little shed, a little shack down there. Down the hill. 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 Down the hill.
Oh man, that sounds pretty dang close. But here's the thing: why people are saying, "Well, you don't think it sounds like him?" It's a different diaphragm. It's a different microphone. It's not a cell phone microphone. But if you're listening to it, yeah, it's got the same character in his voice and the vowels and the way he phrases things. So it's just like singing a song, right? You could put a Led Zeppelin song out. The first note that Robert Plant hits, you know it's Robert Plant, right? The first note that comes out of Geddy Lee's mouth, right? Just it's Geddy. That's how good these music engineers are, and engineer guys. They can tell us a voice. Ah, you know, that's Little Richard from just one note. It's incredible with how they do it. But and let me tell you something: 99% of the time, these guys are right. Right, their ears are trained for vocals. I mean, you just say one thing to them, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's that guy's voice." So, what's my opinion? My opinion is they I think we got another one. Now, whether he's bridge guy, I'm not sure, but it's starting to look like his vocal is a match. So, what do we got? Do we got bridge guy or do we got one of the voice guys? And keep in mind, uh, Doug Carter has already said numerous times that there was numerous voices on the recording other than Abby and Libby's. Is he one of them? Maybe. How many of them are there on there? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff edited out of the recording that they released, so we're not sure. Maybe as time goes by, they'll release more of it. Right? I don't know why. I think it was a stupid decision to keep any of this because there was nothing in any of these videos that was gory, like Mr. Carter was saying. We believe the girls succumbed to their death on that video. Well, I'm not seeing it and hearing it if this is the video. I would have released that whole video out right away. right? If there was more, they should have edited it and let us hear what was going on. We might have heard other voices. We might have heard somebody in the distance, and they were just lookouts to signal if anybody was coming. We're not sure. It could have been one guy. Everybody's hooked on one man couldn't do this, right? He's too small. He didn't have to be big. If he had something that scared the girls did whatever he said. He didn't have to waste any of his energy but to walk to where he wanted them, right? Now, like I said, the police said there's 49 seconds of video, and we believe it's just too gory. You can't hear it, and the girls succumb to death. Well, if there's 49 seconds of video, bridge guy would have had to walk up, cut their throats, and they would have died right there. And then he would have had to carry the bodies. Then I don't think Richard would have been able to do it. Not in that time span. Or whoever bridge guy was, not unless he was a big guy. And they let it get way out of proportion. Why? Well, because you got 6 sketches, you got these witnesses that claim there was other people there, big guys and all this and that. Well, if you killed the girls right away, right on top of the bridge, as soon as you walked up, then you would need a big guy to carry the bodies. So it might all be coming together. We know this much. That SIG might have been tracked to where he bought it, right? A lot of people are crapping in his pants. Where did he get these weapons? Where did he get the gun? And from what I believe, they've been up, I think the federal government's right. I really do. This has been a problem. It's with these so-called bikers or gangs down there or whatever they are, Odins or witches or demons or whatever. Who knows? Yeah, I would say it's a problem. I'm really sorry that your government is saying everything's okay. It's not okay, folks. There's millions of Richard Allens or whoever did this, right? Keegan Klein's and Chadwell. There's millions of them. Millions in America. It's not okay. I'm not going to lie to you like your government does. It's a serious problem. And most people don't give a crap about it until it happens to their family. I guess it goes back to mind your own business. The way we were raised in Chicago. Right? If it didn't happen to yours, mind your own business. And that's what some of these people are saying. And you know what? I understand, because when I minded my own business, no matter what happened, you keep your mouth shut. We didn't have as much trouble. You start opening your mouth. Hey, you can't do that. That's when you get troubles coming. Well, I could tell you this much, right? I'm gonna be honest with these people. I had 4 different people as voice people. Chadwell was one, and believe it or not, yeah, even Greeno and his friend Harmon, or whatever his name was, he was also voice guy, one of the voice guys or bridge guy. I had like 7 different people that fit, that looked or sounded like that. I don't know. Maybe they did have blinders on. Maybe they just didn't see and put the dots together that it was a big thing down there. We know this much. The devil had a hand in it. And you have to remember, 8 years went by. Richard Allen is a smoker, heavy smoker. Would his voice change? Yes. After 8 years, if he continued to drink and smoke, is his voice going to change somewhat? Yes. Yes, but even with that, I still say it's a dang near close match. If not, right on. But see, here's the thing. Richard Allen, he didn't want these people inside of his computer. And I do believe the only reason he didn't want people inside the computer was either he was looking at things he shouldn't have been looking at. And he said something in his interview. Richard said something in his interview about porn and stuff. They don't give a crap about porn. It's not against the law for adults to watch porn. If it's kiddie porn, then yes, it's against the law, probably. Most definitely. But if it was just porn, him and his wife watching it or whatever, no worries, right? I think he was more worried about what he was looking up, what he was watching. And he got kind of nervous once they wanted to get into his things, right? And look. And that was another giveaway, right? He don't want us to see something. There's something around there. No, I'm still not sold on the whole thing 100%. It's Richard. For the simple fact, it's just too easy to set someone up today with all the program out, all the special effects and editing. It's too easy. Plus, it's too easy for someone to take your DNA and put it somewhere. The government just made it. It's just too easy. It's, you can transfer DNA from one person to another person, from one thing to another thing. You can transfer that DNA and be totally innocent. Yeah, DNA works, but it can also work for the bad. Just like Elon Musk is saying, I'm worried about AI. Right? Well, we were worried about DNA when they started using it. Yeah. And now most of these people are using AI to try and solve these crimes, which a creator already asked AI certain questions about a case. AI answered, not unless you're talking about the Delphi case. How did AI even know about the Delphi case? So, like I said, we had 3, 4, maybe 5 people that were voice people, and we had numerous suspects as BG. And the only reason we did that was because the police said, now, BG might not have nothing to do with it. Voice guy might not have anything to do with it, right? But they just wanted to know who they were, and they wanted to talk to them. They weren't in any trouble. We don't know. Bridge guy, even the police said bridge guy could have just kept walking down the road, had nothing to do with it. He might not be the voice guys. So we had a bunch of suspects here, but them suspects were within the case itself or that area. Now, we can't tell you the other people that we're looking at as suspects or voice people. that would tip him off. But I do believe Richard Allen probably has said and brought up names that we haven't heard about yet, right? And once the conviction came down on Richard Allen and he was finally behind bars, I imagine they gave him a little bit of time to adjust or whatever, and then they're back in, right? The interrogators go back in, you know, this is what it is, Richard. Do you want to talk now? Do you want to spill the beans on this? And I imagine Richard will. I don't know. Maybe he'll get a book out of this, a book deal, maybe a movie deal. I don't know. But if you ask my opinion, it sure does sound like him. And I'm confused myself because I wasn't sold 100% that it was Richard Allen. There's no way I can convict a man and take his life when I can't see a perfect photo of him. I'll get a perfect shot of saying, oh, that's him. No doubt about it. That's Richard Allen. And Richard looked different 8 years ago. Good God, we all did. Right? I don't even look the same after 8 years of this stuff. So what do I think? I think I don't know, they sold their souls to the devil or whatever. You don't know me.
Indian teenagers were killed. Plus, the accused killer Richard Allen confesses to the murders on multiple occasions before exhibiting bizarre behaviors in his jail cell. For nearly 6 years, this video was the only clue the public had in the unsolved murders of Abby Williams and Liberty Libby German. On February 13th, 2017, the 13 and 14-year-old girls were hiking on a trail in Delphi, Indiana.
Now, see, that was Bridge Guy video there of him walking and everything. He seemed a lot taller. So we had a couple different people that were suspects, Harmon and a couple other guys, because we were going off of the sketch and the witnesses' story of what they seen, their testimony of these guys that they seen there, right? So I had Harmon, and the other one was Chadwell, who both were bad people, but I don't know if they were there. You know, I also had Chadwell as voice guy, one of the voice guy people. But let's continue to watch this.
They then disappeared. The next day, their bodies were discovered in the woods nearby. The video was taken by one of the victims the day she was murdered and released to the public as investigators searched for more information. Officials now say the man in the video was Richard Allen. Since his arrest in October of last year, he's allegedly confessed to the double homicide.
And for me, the biggest thing was these documents gave us more context into these so-called confessions we've been hearing so much about. Before yesterday, we knew nothing about the situations where he made these so-called incriminating statements or confessions. Some people said that for all we know, they may have been statements that were overheard by fellow inmates. They may have come from jailhouse informants. But now we know where they were made. They were made in phone calls between Richard Allen and his wife and his mother. And furthermore, we know that those calls where he made these statements were recorded.
It It was really surprising and frankly kind of, it was shocking because you're like, okay, there's the ballistics evidence. We're going to have dueling experts on that. We have him placing himself at the scene, which is definitely problematic, but does not mean that he's placing himself at the murder scene. The gun does that. But other than,
You know, people missed out on certain things too that Richard said in his interview, in his interrogation. He said, "There's no way you got that bullet from that crime scene. You must have got it from somewhere else, baby." Well, that right there opened my eyes, opened my ears. Well, what do you mean? They didn't get it from that crime scene, Richard. What crime scene was it from? Where'd they get that bullet? Right? I had questions myself, right? If it wasn't you, if they did, because he's telling his wife, there's no way they got that bullet from that crime scene by them girls. It must have came from somewhere else. Where?
than that, what's
They
the
would
shape
have had
of the
it been
case?
inside your
And
house.
if on top
Richard,
of that he's
they might have
confessing
got that
to
bullet
it, that seems
when
like
the
a
police
hurdle
were
the
called
defense
to
will
your
have to
house.
overcome.
Kevin Greenlee
that
and
mental
Anya
problem
Kane,
or
creators
whatever
of
the
the
fuck
Murder
is.
Sheet podcast, are partially to thank for the release of nearly 120 unsealed documents. The pair have been following the Delphi case for years, even before Allen was arrested.
One thing that always stuck with me about the case is I remember talking with my mom about it, and I have sisters who are not super far away in age from Abby and Libby, like they're in that generation. And like,
A lot of people
just the
said
idea
that
of
them
these two
photos came from
girls
these
who are
people that
best
you're looking
friends
at
having
right
a
now.
lovely
So-called
day and enjoying each other's company and going out like for
dark
what
web
kids do,
people
like
or
a
whatever.
walk on the trails. That's so normal. That's so appalling that they did not come back from that, and that their families as a result don't get to see them grow up. It's horrific. It's enraging. And so the case always stuck with me because of that, and because like, okay, we have this guy on video footage. Why are there no answers?
Greenlee and Kane say they were pleasantly surprised this week when Judge Francis.
I honestly think them two people that you just seen, murder sheets or whatever, are glorified hackers. And they were like, supposedly everyone's going, "Oh, you got to watch the murder. They're the top." You know, they were dark shadow people, both of them. Dark web hackers, whatever. And a lot of people were saying that all the information that was leaked or whatever, all this crap, and all could have been them. A lot of people don't like that murder sheets for some reason. I have no idea, but they're like, I can't stand that channel. Well, maybe they can't. Maybe they are glorified hackers and they're getting it for, they stole information on the case. People's theories, and they might have been watching us. They ran to the police first. It all checked out, and that's what Mr. Trump was trying to say. They made a grab for the money, Mr. Trump.
Skull ordered hundreds of pages of documents be released to the public.
There's actually a process in Indiana for documents to be sealed. And basically that would involve either the prosecutor or the defense filing a request with the court saying, there's something in here, whether for privacy concerns or investigative concerns, that really needs to be withheld from the public. But in this case, things were being sealed, even though those requests were not being filed. And so people behind the scenes were saying, this isn't right. This process isn't being followed. These things should be made public. We prepared a motion basically asking the judge, can you unseal some of these documents that were improperly sealed? And we were really pleased that she looked upon that motion favorably and released all those documents yesterday.
Upon reading the documents, Allen's alleged confessions stuck out to Greenlee and Kane and to law and crime legal analyst Julie Rendelman.
So absolutely, it's always interesting, certainly as a prosecutor and as a defense attorney, to hear time and time again a defendant make statements while they're incarcerated to someone who on the phone. And the reason that we're always so shocked is because everybody knows those calls are being monitored and taped. And yet he still managed to make statements that incriminated himself. And so there's no question that the prosecution is going to hone in on those statements and any other statements he may have made to any other individual.
Yes, I agree with this little lady. He can confess to anything. If the evidence don't match, then that's not your guy. He can confess that he killed them all. But if the evidence don't match, it's not the guy. And these idiots can't even figure out that he had 7 years to watch every single thing on Delphi. There's a reason why he didn't want you in his Google thing or whatever, history or whatever, because he was watching us all. He was in our chats probably. You get too close to something, you'd get attacked or whatever, right? And you have to remember, Richard had friends, right? And if one goes down, they all go down. So I imagine they all were attacking everybody. That's the thing. These people are like, well, he confessed. I don't care about a confession. He can scream out all day he killed Yankee Doodle Dandy. But if that ain't his voice and that ain't his DNA and body on the bridge walking, then he's not the guy. Right? That's what I said from the beginning. But now that we do have this voice out, more voice to compare, yeah, it sounds like him to me.
In which there's any indication of culpability.
Rendelman says Allen's conversations and alleged confessions will likely be used by prosecutors at trial.
Certainly, anyone who heard the statements made by Richard Allen can be called to testify. But in the case, for example, of the phone call from jail, they don't need the wife in order to testify. They can simply call an individual who works at the facility to explain how the phone system works, the fact that the phone was being used by Richard Allen at that time, and establish that the phone number that he called or spoke with was in fact his wife. They don't need her because they have the actual audio tape of what he said.
According to the newly released court documents, Allen admitted to the murders to both his wife and his mother. On April 3rd, when he made the confession to his wife, she quickly hung up.
Patriot software immediately helped me run payroll, and I was able to accomplish it with
up the phone.
Finding out the context of these confessions or these incriminating statements is surprising, because we're hearing it's not a jailhouse snitch, it's not a police officer interrogating him, it's to his wife and mother, it's to the two women who have supported him throughout all this whole mess. And so hearing that it happened in that context, the defense's side of things is that he's having a mental.
Now, does that look like Richard Allen to me? No. I had 3 other guys. One was a YouTuber. Well, 2 of them were YouTubers. Or 3 were YouTubers. That looked like him, right? That looked like that. And there was other guys in that area that looked like Bridge Guy. You had the Sullivans. There was numerous people. It was freaky. I'm like, good God, that could be Richard Allen. Oh, wait, look at this guy. Whoa, wait a minute. That looks like it could be Bridge Guy, right? All these people look like Bridge Guy. Really freaky.
Breakdown, and he's deteriorating because of prison conditions. So you can see that side of it where someone might be out of control, even if they're innocent. But on the prosecution side, he has no real reason to just unilaterally confess to his 2 biggest supporters. So it's going to be something for the defense to definitely overcome that hurdle, and for the prosecution to kind of continue pushing the narrative that we have the right guy.
And I think it's interesting also to learn what happened after these so-called confessions. It says in the documents that Kathy Allen ended the phone call abruptly. And after that, Richard Allen seems to have gone into some sort of mental and emotional tailspin.
Following these confessions, Allen's defense alleged his mental health issues really ramped up. Court docs say he began, quote, wetting down paperwork he had gotten from his attorneys and eating it. Allen also refused to sleep and purposely broke a tablet that allowed him to send texts and listen to music.
He has this tablet which he uses to communicate with the outside world. He's been making an average of 1 or 2 calls a day. After this, he breaks it. He stops wanting to eat. He stops wanting to sleep. And he begins doing bizarre things. One thing mentioned in the documents is that he takes his legal paperwork, he wets it, and he eats it. And all of this stuff is going on right after this call with his wife, where he basically, according to the documents, confessed.
Gross and disturbing, and just like, I mean, also puts into some context, the defense was complaining that he wasn't getting his paperwork, but the prison officials may have just been concerned he was like literally going to consume it. So it's really like, it's just bizarre and upsetting, like to think someone's at that level of mental degradation. But at the same time, the question is this an innocent man with some mental health concerns who's having a breakdown, or is this a guilty man who's overwhelmed by that guilt?
Allen's defense attorneys allege his, quote, mental state has declined because Westville Correctional Facility is unfit and that he should be moved, even comparing Allen's treatment to a prisoner of war. Court documents reveal Allen is being held in a 12-by-8 cell where he is, quote, housed in that unit for his protection after making suicidal statements.
And they're trying. They're saying he was mentally unraveling at the time because of poor prison conditions. And so they'll be able to make that argument to basically say he was not competent. This is not true. He's just saying this because he's kind of losing it. And so I definitely understand their case there. But to me also, I think it would have been easier to dismiss the confessions if it was to maybe a detective who's doing a harsh interrogation and he's losing his cool and he maybe says something sarcastic. Or if it's like a jailhouse snitch who, can you really trust their word? But to his wife and mother, who of course have been supporting him in public court hearings, being there for him, he's telling them that. I can't imagine that they were pressing him very hard.
Allen's defense, quote, challenged that his treatment was unconstitutional, arguing his so-called confessions can't be taken seriously given his mental state.
We've seen pictures of Richard Allen both before and after he was incarcerated. I think there's no question that he has certainly lost a lot of weight, and that may be indicative of some breakdown or deterioration in terms of his mental health. And I think the defense is going to use that in saying he wasn't of mental stable mind when he made those statements or confessions to his loved ones, and therefore a jury cannot rely on them.
Prosecutors have pushed back on this theory, though, noting that Allen was evaluated by 2 psychiatrists on April 14th after his alleged confessions. The medical professionals determined Allen did not need to be moved, and court documents note his behavior went back to normal after this evaluation. But besides Allen's behavior on the inside, court documents also reveal what investigators recovered from his home when a search warrant was executed last fall.
But there's a document called the search warrant return, and that spells out everything they seized and they took from the Allen residence. So it was very interesting to see exactly what they took. We know obviously that they took a gun. I don't think we realized how many guns he had. He also had knives, and of course they also took many items of clothing. And one thing from that search warrant return that jumped out at me was they actually removed a little swatch underneath the spare tire in his car for testing. And so I'm curious, what was it they saw there they thought needed to be tested? And have those tests been done? And if so, what are the results of those tests?
Do it all with Steel Battery. Get a free extra battery with select Steel tools or save on legendary gas-powered equipment. Shop in store.
Among the items recovered from Allen's home, a .40 caliber handgun cartridges, a memory card, some boots, a Carhartt coat, jeans, and 13 knives. As Law and Crime Network previously reported, Allen was first interviewed by an Indiana conservation officer back in 2017. He stayed off police radar for years, though, until that initial interview was rediscovered in September 2022, which led to the execution of a search warrant in October 2022 and Allen's arrest.
You know, he comes up initially in 2017 and, you know, he volunteers information to a Department of Natural Resources investigator and says, hey, I was on the trails that day.
Back in 2017, Allen admitted to police he was near the High Bridge the day the girls were murdered, saying he was wearing a Carhartt jacket and blue jeans. Investigators later reported a bullet recovered at the crime scene previously cycled through a gun that belonged to Allen. But what may be the most shocking thing from the newly unsealed court documents is the revelation that both girls were killed by a, quote, sharp object, previously cycled through a gun that belonged to Allen.
Resources investigator and says, hey, I was on the trails that day.
Back in 2017, Allen admitted to police he was near the High Bridge the day the girls were murdered, saying he was wearing a Carhartt jacket and blue jeans. Investigators later reported a bullet recovered at the crime scene previously cycled through a gun that belonged to Allen. But what may be the most shocking thing from the newly unsealed court documents is the revelation that both girls were killed by a, quote, sharp object. However, according to Rendleman, we can't assume one of the knives recovered from Allen's home was used in the murders.
Anytime we hear a sharp object was used in a murder, we assume it's a knife. It could be other types of objects. However, we do know from some of the sources that we've been hearing from is that they've recovered numerous knives from the home of Richard Allen. So I tend to think that they believe those knives may be very probative in terms of the murder of these two young girls.
And while new evidence may look incriminating for Allen, Rendleman says his defense will work hard to convince jurors there is reasonable doubt.
I don't think I ever consider anything a slam dunk. This case is tough for a couple reasons. One is there's no eyewitnesses that establish that Richard Allen is the person that killed these young girls. There are pieces of circumstantial evidence that establish that he was there. And there are pieces of circumstantial evidence that if you put together, make out a fairly strong case that Richard Allen was the person responsible. But I think that the defense has and is going to be able to work on some of the holes that exist with some of the lack of evidence, at least to raise some reasonable doubt to the jury.
Right now, Allen is being held on $20 million bond. He's pleaded not guilty to the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German. He's set to go to trial on January 8th of next year. Reporting for Law and Crime Network, I'm Sierra Gillespie.
It's time to fortify your life with Fort Finance.
So he had a $20 million bond. I don't know what that is. I'd have to do the numbers of how much he would need. He wouldn't have needed the full 20 million, right? He would only need a percentage of the 20 million, I think, to put down or something. But he could have got out of jail. Somebody could have posted the 20 million or whatever the percentage was of the bond, and he could have been free. Would he split, or would he have took off or whatever, right? I don't know. We know this much. Once they released Keegan Kline, it wasn't short after that. He split, took off. And I think for a couple years or a year or something like that, he split, took off out west. He went out west, where now they say is one of the pedo capitals or whatever. I don't know. Vegas, I think he went to. But Yeah. All right. So Richard Allen, my opinion, listening to it now over and over and over and over again with headphones and putting it, yeah, I would say it's a match close to it. But like I said, there's others too that matched that we were looking at. So I don't know. I'm not the professional. Just let them figure it out. They'll figure it all out. You know, people are so wound up. They're missing key things that really crazy was what he said, why he was being interviewed. The bottom line was is he came out and said, there's no way they got that bullet from that crime scene. They must have got it from somewhere else. And he was telling his wife that. And what people are missing is when his wife walks in and starts talking to him, they tell Richard, "We're questioning your wife also." Right? And then he says he wants to talk to her, and they bring her in, and she ain't acting like she's in love with him or whatever. She's saying they think I have something also to do with this, or to question me about it. And he's telling her, all right, get a lawyer. Don't answer nothing, get a lawyer. So was the rumors true in the beginning of this case when the video and the recording first came out that people said they can hear voices in it? They put it through uh, programs and they can hear a woman's voice in it. Another one, was there a woman there? You know, did we come 360 on this case? I think probably so. I think what we heard in the beginning probably was the truth. There was many involved. They weren't there, but they knew what was going on. Keegan Klein, they all played a part in it. They were, who knows? Maybe Richard Allen worked for Keegan Klein or something. Who knows? And Keegan Klein's dad and all that. I don't know. It's a big mess. I know the devil's got a hand in it, and there's witches and warlocks. So, all right, we're coming up on an hour. I'm going to end this video. I'll be back with more videos later. Keep your ears open and your eyes open. After hearing all this, hearing the phone calls of him on the phone, right? Yeah, that sounds like it. That sounds like him too. A lot more when he's on a phone because the phone microphones are similar. So, yeah, I would say so. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the hunt continues for more bad people in America. God bless you all. I will be back with more content. I just woke up. I'm having some coffee. I don't know. Woke up about an hour and a half ago or whatever. Sun is out, but it's chilly today. Yesterday was really chilly, and today was chilly. But it's going to get warmer here soon. So I think this week I got some yard work to do for some people. So got to get out there and make a couple quid. You folks have a good day. God bless you all. I'll be back. All glory goes to God. Thanks for another day, Lord.